It's July 2nd, 2016. Hello and welcome. My name is Brian McAvoy.
And I'm Tim Shank. This is episode 3 of Two Cyborgs and a Microphone, brought to you by TwinCities Plus, creating intelligent, capable, and resilient community.
We're talking terms today. Like any specialized career or niche, we have some words that only we use or that we use differently than everyone else.
One of those terms is the word grinder. And I know, Brian, I've heard you refer to yourself as a grinder. Can you tell us what that means?
The way I identify myself as a grinder is someone who uses the items available to them to upgrade their own body. And it sounds a lot more like junkyard hacker than it really is. One of the implants I've got is a magnet, and that allows me to sense magnetic fields, whether it's an oscillating electrical field or a static permanent magnet field or whatever. It's a relatively simple device implanted in my body that gives me an upgrade. The actual etymology, I'm not sure. I don't know how that word was decided upon.
So how does that relate to the word grinder?
The way I would define it is somebody who puts these devices into their body in order to get upgrades.
Now, I understand the concept, but I have some personal issues with the term grinder. My main issue with that is that grinding, by definition, is a destructive process. And when you're talking about grinding on the body, it paints a pretty grotesque picture. And it kind of, I think, goes back to a lot of the dystopian sci-fi we've seen, where maybe the world is in chaos or everybody is, there's very limited resources and people are using unclean pieces of metal to make modifications to their body. And I'm not convinced that's the most accurate or the most positive way to portray what we're doing.
In the broad spectrum of things, you might be right. That might not be the most positive way to portray ourselves. But maybe that appeals to the people who go in for it.
I know for certain it does to a certain population. A lot of the people who are doing this are doing it in their garages with whatever tools and materials they have at their disposal. For me, it's just the picture that it paints isn't pretty. And I picture scarred people with perhaps mohawks and tattoos on their face using incorrect implements to insert technology into their body, and I guess that's in some cases that's what it is, isn't it?
It probably is, and I think that scene probably exists, but it doesn't seem to be the norm from what I've gathered. Everything I've done has been in a sterile environment, or at least like a tattoo parlor, which is perfectly clean for this sort of thing.
And at the same time, I've seen some other groups that are doing this in a garage or something similar, hack spaces and things like that. The pictures that I've seen are not necessarily grotesque, and they're not that much different in some cases from the stitches that I've had that my guys put in. But when you combine the two aspects of somebody in their garage with little or no training, and then you see these pictures of implants, which are always swollen at first, and they're always, there's always stitching, there's often blood. I think that concept, the entire thing, and not just the term grinder, but the associating the two could have some negative impacts down the line for people who are looking into human augmentation as a way to increase their capability.
Maybe the term got its rise by the people who just wanted to say, listen, we're not doing this in a medical sense. We are not doing medical implants or anything. That we're doing this on our own, not limiting ourselves to what's available in the medical community, that we'll get this done by any means necessary, and just kind of charging into it with a certain bravado. But you're right that it might not be the most PR-sensitive thing in the world.
Well, even just for accuracy, I'm thinking it's not accurate. Grinder had the word grinder had an established definition that was very industrial, destructive, both those things. I guess I can't think of a third quality, but definitely industrial, definitely destructive, because grinding is a destructive act.
Well, there are other terms, and you've coined one yourself, which I like.
Recreational cyborg.
I love that term. I think that really captures what we do. We're not doing anything to severely alter the body. We're making ourselves better without anything gross.
Do you think it has to do with the degree to which we'd modify our body? Because, from my perspective, I would significantly modify my body. There's no question about that if the right options became available.
I think the term recreational cyborg is very suitable for what we've done so far. Everything has been done pretty much below the wrist and nothing too big. So at what point would you get something and say, okay, this is no longer recreational, this is now life changing?
Well, I think I would maybe upgrade it to the term functional cyborg or practical cyborg as soon as there was a significant increase in my capability. But I don't know if I'd ever go to the term grinder. I think we're looking at a number of different kinds of cyborgs coming up here. First, we've already had the medical cyborgs, and those are people who, through a disease or through
Certainly.
a physical condition, have to have a mechanical or electronic device inside their body to maintain what's accepted as the norm for humans. This is more of a hobby. This is something we don't really need to do. We enjoy doing it. We enjoy exploring the idea of being of cyborg. So it is a recreation. I think the next stage that'll be coming is more of a practical cyborg or a functional cyborg, or there would be another term like that indicates that it actually has a real world purpose, maybe necessity. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that is.
Yeah, I could see professional cyborgs where somebody just needs an upgrade for their job.
Johnny Mnemonic.
Johnny Mnemonic, yeah. Somebody who needs some kind of brain upgrade in order to do something, or another sense that we don't currently have. We've got mechanical sensors that can sense radiation, but what if you had one built in?
For certain roles, I think that's definitely a value. In which case, that is a different kind of cyborg because it's not recreational. Another term that's come up that I've heard is biohacker, and depending on the age group that I've been talking to, the word hacker is called out as somebody who steals information or who hijacks other people's computer systems.
Yeah, I know hacker leaves kind of a bad taste in your mouth. So I grew up with the movie Hackers, and a lot of the websites I go on, like hackaday.com, the term hacker is kind of glorified, and it has nothing to do with stealing computer information. It has nothing to do with stealing information at all. It has to do with finding the smallest tweak possible for the biggest bang possible. Installing a small magnet in my finger allows me to sense an electrical field. Inserting a small RFID chip allows me to enter my hack space, that term just came up again, without needing keys.
Yeah, I get that. And, I'm not opposed to the word hacker. You and I aren't too far off in age. When I was on the radio the other day, they asked me about this, and I think I really zeroed in on what I think about it. And that's that a hacker is a person that modifies or bypasses systems in a machine or a computer system, any kind of system, to their own purposes. And so hacking, while some people modified and bypassed security systems to steal information, nowadays people are modifying and bypassing, manipulating their own systems in their body, their electromechanical systems, their minds, their neural systems, to add functionality or to change the functionality of the system. And I think that's where I think people of a certain age, they don't see that the word hacker isn't really about what you do when you hijack that system. It's the act of hijacking or modifying or manipulating the system for your own ends. That's what it is. And it doesn't just apply to information. It could apply to it. For us, it applies to our bodies. For life hackers, it applies to habits. So there's a lot of ways to hack, a lot of things to hack. And it doesn't always indicate theft or somebody else's property.
It's definitely another word that comes from kind of a crude and destructive process to hack or to grind. They're both things you can do to meat.
Interesting point. I hadn't made that tie between hack and grind. That's interesting. Thank you, Brian.
So the way I term biohacker is very broad. It almost becomes the transhuman argument again. In a way, we're almost all biohackers. Somebody who exercises, they're doing something they wouldn't normally do, if they were just out in the wild, because they're trying to improve their body. And by lifting a bunch of steel or by running around a track, they're essentially hacking their body. What do you think about that?
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And even a lot of medicines, certainly a hack.
Totally.
There's all kinds of medicines that rewrite our chemical systems so that they can have the desired effect. And that is something we've all done, I think, for our entire life, except for a very small few who've made real efforts to keep their body chemical free. And I think you're one of those people, aren't you, Brian?
To a degree. My claim is that I've never taken a controlled substance without a prescription, and that's true. I don't really even like taking ibuprofen if I don't have to. It's just not something I like.
Boy, I couldn't get by without ibuprofen. Couldn't do it.
Well, if I get a headache, I'll take one or two, and that's all I need. Caffeine has quite an effect on me. I drank a half a cup of coffee before we started, and I'm already feeling it like big time. I'm a little bit wired.
I also want to bring up a point here that some definitions of biohacker that I read fall outside of our scope, and they're really talking about hacking biology, but not just the human biology. We won't talk about that today, and maybe not in this podcast, but certainly not today. The term biohacker can also apply to hacking, say, yeast to generate, I don't know, THC. Speaking of controlled substances.
That's from Mr. Robot, isn't it?
I'm not exactly sure. It's a good show, though.
I enjoyed that show. So another way to biohack yourself, human biohacking, is nootropics. How do you pronounce that? And can you give us a quick 30-second elevator pitch?
Oh boy. There are a few different classes of supplements. There's nootropics, there's neurotropics, and then there's neurogenics and synaptogenics. Nootropics are supplements with relatively low toxicity that can be used to change the neurotransmitter levels in the brain to do things like increase focus, increase your memory and long-term recollection, to increase your attention, and enhance your learning, and more.
Awesome. I look forward to having a show on that sometime in the future.
I look forward to that.
Right now, can we talk a little bit about TwinCities Plus and what makes TwinCities Plus important?
TwinCities Plus is here to create intelligent, capable, and a resilient community. So that reflects the three supers of transhumanism. We're here to help people become more aware of the technology that's around them to increase their capability, and to help people gain an understanding of all of these technologies that are out there that are growing in the labs, and so many new and important discoveries over the last year or two. It's been one after another. And then to build community, to help people help each other. And to me, that's what the mission statement says it all. We are here to build an intelligent, capable, and resilient community, to help people work together to understand and harness and even leverage the amazing scientific breakthroughs that are happening all the time today.
Well, if you hadn't started the community with just a simple meetup group, you and I wouldn't have met. So it's already doing a good job, in my opinion. For people who don't live around here or know us personally, the Twin Cities in the name, TwinCities Plus, stands for the Twin Cities in Minneapolis and St. Paul in Minnesota, United States of America.
And the plus refers to transhumanism, because Humanity Plus is the main international organization for transhumanism. And we are a chapter of Humanity Plus. So the plus really is a symbol of growth, a symbol of those enhanced capabilities. I think what we do is very important. what we do is we host events. We have social events and happy hours where we just get people together and we talk about all of this exciting stuff, because they know all of us are really excited about individual advances we might see, and some people, and every once in a while you'll see one and you just realize, oh, that's exciting, because that's going to make it possible for me or my family to whatever that is. And so we have the happy hours. We also have a book club where we talk about often science fiction, but even nonfiction.
My favorite is probably the happy hour because it's so super laid back. We get together with a bunch of people who are either just curious and there for the first time to see what it's all about. And we get a lot of regulars who come back and say, oh yeah, this is kind of related to what we talked about last time. And we get a real good dialogue going. My second favorite is probably the movie nights, because we get together, we watch some movie that has at its core transhumanism, and watch the movie, eat some pizza, and then discuss what we thought about the movie. Another pretty laid-back event that I really, really enjoy.
But you know what I like? I think the favorite event that I've done or been part of with TwinCities Plus was our artificial intelligence roundtable.
What's that?
The roundtables are always real well attended. People are hungry for that type of content where we can talk about such a deep subject and then discuss it amongst. We always have a presentation and then talk about this deep subject amongst the table. And this last one with Maria Genie was one of the best events I think I've probably ever been to.
TwinCities Plus has got a great spectrum where you've got the laser focus of the roundtables you mentioned, and then the broad spectrum of the happy hours.
I hope this podcast extends out to way beyond our area. And at the same time, I hope that if you're in Minneapolis and St. Paul, you look us up. We're at TwinCitiesPlus.org. Through the summer, we do several events every month. We have all these book clubs and roundtables and things like that. But if you're outside of town, we also have a Google group, and we talk about things there, and we share news stories, and maybe you can come and get engaged on the website there. And if you ever happen to be in the neighborhood, we always encourage people to come visit us.
Yeah, we've had people visit from halfway across the state.
I think that speaks to how hard it is to find this sort of group. And I'm really I feel really lucky to be part of this, because I get so excited about this. You know that, Brian.
Yeah.
And to share my excitement with people who are also excited and who have so much individual knowledge that a lot of it I haven't even heard of. That to me is just, there's nowhere else I could get that. So to our listeners, thank you. My name's Tim Chang.
And I'm Brian McAvoy. Join
us next time on Two Cyborgs and a Microphone. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, which is a big topic in the news. And I think there's a lot to talk about, Brian.
I think so too. I look forward to it.
Brought to you by TwinCities Plus, creating an intelligent, capable, and resilient community.